Now we're going to talk about how to decompose fractions and make addition problems. This time we're not only going to focus on unit fractions. You could, but today we're going to look at it as how can I make, what kind of addition problems can I use to make the total of 7/8. If I had a whole, if I had all 8 parts, I'd have 8/8, but here I took one part away, so I have 7/8. So that's the goal. I want to add up and to make 7/8. So I'm going to try a few different combinations. One combination, and again, I'm not adding any more tiles here. I'm just using the tiles that are already on the board here. I have 3/8 plus 4/8. So if I have 3/8 and I add 4/8 to it, I have a total of 7/8. And again, my denominators are the same because this is all broken up into 8 equal parts to make the whole. My numerators, I took 3 tiles and put them together to make 3/8, 4 tiles and put them together to make 4/8. And when I added the parts together, 3 plus 4 is 7. So that gave me 7/8. But that's not the only way I can make 7/8. I'm going to put this back together and make 7/8 again. And again, this is not changing. The sum is not changing. It's still going to equal 7/8. I'm going to make 3 different fractions to make 7/8. I can do 2/8, 2/8, and 2/8. I didn't add any tiles and I didn't take any tiles away. So I have 1/8 here. I'm going to write it here. 1/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8. And finally, I'm going to add this last 2/8. So when I always check my work to make sure it all still adds up to the 7/8, I have 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 more is 5, plus 2 more is 7. So my numerators, there's 7 all together, 7 parts all together. And again, the 8 is going to stay the same. I didn't break this up into smaller parts. They're still broken into 8 equal parts to make that whole. So the rule when you're adding fractions is the denominators have to be the same. And then once your denominators are the same, you can just bring them right over to your answer. And then you can just add your numerators. I'm looking at this problem and I can see another way that I can add to make 7/8. So I did 2 add-ins here. I did 4 add-ins here. I can do it again. I can do 3/8 here plus 2/8 plus 2/8. So I'm going to write that here. I'm going to write the 3/8 here, followed by, oops, the 2/8. And then finally, this last 2/8. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and 5 plus 2 is 7. Again, the rule, the denominators are the same in the add-ins, and I have to bring it right over because I still have 8 parts to make that whole. And so I've got 3 different math problems for this, and I can even do one more because there are lots of options, and I want you to see that every option that you see, you have to just make sure to add your numerators to make sure it adds up to that fraction that's given. So I can do 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 2/8 plus 3/8. So I'm going to do 1/8, which came from right over here. I'm going to add the next 1/8 here. And then I have 2/8. And then finally, I have 3/8. And as I always say, check to make sure your addition adds up so I didn't make a mistake. I have 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. So that shows you that you can break up a fraction many different ways depending on the number in your numerator. This is a high numerator, so I had a lot of different options. You're going to be practicing that in your practice buddy and on your IXL. So now it's your turn to try. Good luck.